Welcome everybody to another episode of People Believe That. I am oldMIXDhead.
I'm your boy Chief.
Today's episode, we're going to be revisiting a prior episode that focused around the gun ban. It was episode 11 of People Believe That on season 1. And we're going to be revisiting it. And this time we got some information that we want to put out. We actually put some effort into this one. We didn't just come up with something to talk about and just start talking about it.
We're getting ready for season 2, man.
We're gearing up.
We're gonna do it mucho grande.
What does that mean?
Very big.
Oh, okay, yeah. We're gonna do a mucho grande. Is that right?
Yeah, that's close enough.
They know what I mean.
Yeah.
All right. So first thing we're gonna talk about is before we start into that, want to just send a call to action for everybody. Go ahead and subscribe to the Will Boys podcast. You can subscribe to us on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. Spreaker.com is our home, not our home site, but that's where most of our episodes are free. If you have an Android or an iPhone, you can listen to it on both. You can find us also on YouTube. We're uploading our episodes on YouTube. Go to Will Boys podcast and you'll find us there. In the future for season 2, we're going to start putting in videos so you can see us. We just got done doing a couple of reaction videos for some trending videos on YouTube, and they're kind of interesting. The Michael Black Trapson,
Michael Trapson,
We Are the World.
Yeah,
we did that one. We also did an old Wendy's commercial. Training video that they actually used. It's amazing. It was a rap song.
We did the "Walk It in My Pocket" Dr. Seuss remix.
Yeah, the Dr. Seuss. We also did the actual.
I got to look up who those dudes was because I didn't give them any credit, but it was. I guess we will on the video, right?
Yeah, I'll put it in the description.
It was pretty creative.
We also watched the Migos. The Migos.
Walk It Like I Talk It.
Walk It Like I Talk It.
With Jamie Foxx.
Can't forget the title because they said it like 3,000 times in the video.
It's the swag that counts.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess so. All right, let's get back on topic. So gun control, that's a huge issue going on in the US of A today. And first off, before we even get started, I know we talked we I don't know how long the episode was. I think it was about an hour long, the last gun ban episode that we did. Just as a recap, what is your position on gun control as it stands right now?
Right now it's fine because it's not really affecting me. But as soon as it starts affecting me, I'll probably say more about it. As most people do.
So yeah, I think that's kind of the big issue people have. They say that nobody stands up until it directly affects them.
Right.
Now, in terms of just in general, because with you have the mass shootings in Florida, Vegas, Texas, things like, or here in Texas, we know, even though it doesn't affect you personally, it affects other people.
Right.
So how would you approach that?
Well, I definitely believe there needs to be some laws and regulations in place for the most part. I know when they talk about gun ban, they don't necessarily mean, well, at least at this time, they don't necessarily mean taking the guns out of everybody's hands. It's more about being more restrictive as to who can get to guns, like known stalkers,
right.
Sex offenders, ex-murderers, convicts, stuff like that, or people with mental illness. Now, that's like a touchy subject for me because my mental illness history wasn't so good.
It's extensive.
In the past. I got books, but it's not the same now. But I don't know how they do that. But
well, see, when you tie in checking people's mental illness, basically what that's doing is, along with what is already considered to be a lengthy process to buy a gun, they have the criminal background check. We'll talk about it while we're bringing up these topics, but what they're basically saying is they want mental health to be checked on everybody buying a gun in the legal sense. When the straight up way of buying a gun now is you go in, you request a firearm, and they make you fill out the papers, and then they do a criminal background check. Now, what they want to do is add a mental check, but that kind of goes against the whole medical aspect of it, where you can't just access somebody's medical files. I believe if somebody out there doesn't know some more information on that, please
What do
feel
you
free
mean?
to contact
What do you
us.
mean? Who's
Well,
they?
think about mental illness, right?
Right.
So if I'm a gun owner and I own a store and I make somebody comes and wants to buy a gun, and I say, okay, we got to fill out this form. Then you got to fill out this form so we can check your mental illness, your mental health, or mental wellness health.
When you go and fill out that information, it goes to the FBI, right?
Right.
So with that, I think, from what I understand, because I work for a security group and I've been going through the processes of, when I had to go get my license and all that type of stuff, and you have to go do fingerprints, you have to do all this stuff, right?
Right.
So one of the boxes you have to check off is whether or not a judge has convicted you or has written you off as having mental illness.
Oh, so it's already on there.
So if it goes by the judge, then that's federal,
right? Because
it's by the state.
Okay.
So it's the FBI already has access to that information, because what they do is they pull up your records. I don't know if they necessarily pull up.
So it's only if it's been by a judge. It's not just in general sense.
From my understanding of it as of right now. That's something we'll probably have to fact check or whatever. And
I'm sure the listeners will do that for us.
Yeah, well, you facts, know what you're talking about.
If we stumble on our words, I am not the person to say I'm right, you're wrong.
A statistician. I looked it up again.
Statistician. Oh man, we fumbled that one last time. Statistician. Stat guy George.
George.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into the topic. So our first topic is going to be going over not what started, but what really brought this to the forefront, and what is really sticking with mainstream media now. It's the Florida shooting. The Florida shooting took place on February 14th, and it was at the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. I'm not going to say the shooter's name. I'm sure you already know. If you don't know, you can look it up. I'm just not going to say his name. It was a male. He was 19 years old, and he was able to, using a firearm. It wasn't an assault rifle, was it? It was a handgun.
I'm not sure.
I think it was an assault rifle.
I'll look it up.
Probably should have looked it up. He was able to end the lives of 17 of his classmates. Now, this has sparked a much higher reaction to the gun ban issue, and it started the March for Our Lives march that took place in DC a month later.
He used an AR-15.
Okay, so he used an assault rifle.
Yeah,
all right.
And killed 17 people and wounded 14.
All right. Now, first thing I'm going to say is that that's a horrible tragedy for any, let alone a child. I mean, we say they're teenagers, but they're still kids, basically. For any of them to go through that, knowing that they lost 17 of their friends, family, things like that. It's a horrible action that he did, and it's a horrible way that day turned out, and nobody wanted it to happen, or, the guy wanted it to happen, but nobody that's a good human being would want that to happen. Let's get into what's coming from that. Now, one of the students who is being brought to the forefront, have you heard of him? His name is David Hogg. I think he's 19 or 18, and he's basically the kid that's being put in front of the whole Students Against Guns movement, basically. You haven't seen him?
Who?
David Hogg.
No, I haven't.
Okay. I bet if you saw a picture of him, you at least have seen him.
Right.
He's being pushed to like I said, he's being pushed to the forefront of this whole student movement towards restricted laws on guns and things like that. According to Business Insider, laws that these students from Parkland want to pass include, number 1, ban assault weapons. So assault rifles mainly, because those were the weapons used for shootings such as Las Vegas, Orlando, Connecticut, and Sutherland Springs, Texas, that happened some months ago. And little to surprise, the NRA is against that. What do you think about that?
The NRA, they have a lot of good points, and see, it's tricky with them because I try not to hitch my wagon to any mainstream group, period. You know what I'm saying? I don't know much. I haven't done enough research on their history or whatever to really know where their core is and their main beliefs or whatever. But I personally, I'm not feeling how they use the kids.
The NRA?
No.
Oh, the mainstream media.
Right.
And the people be pushing them. Yeah.
Right. I personally don't agree with it. I don't like that image because, one, the kids aren't informed enough to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're not,
kids.
I don't believe they're informed. And maybe they are. Maybe if you have a conversation with them, but they don't show the whole conversation. They just show the side of the conversation that appeals to the most ratings.
Right.
You know, and you know how I feel about the media, and all the media companies are all ran by the same people. So, like, you know, you're not really getting a full story.
How do you feel about their number one request, which is banning all assault weapons?
That's dumb. You know why? Because you see a hunting rifle, right? Like an old Red Ryder looking rifle.
Right.
And mechanically it has like the same parts. Like certain ones have the same parts as like an AR-15,
right,
or an SKS or something like that. Something that looks tactical or whatever.
Scary.
You know? Right. Something that looks scary to someone who's ill-informed about what the
weapon is.
What the weapon is and what they're used for, right? But they're not banning bow and arrows. Like, have you ever seen someone hunt with the bow and arrow before?
I haven't seen it.
Not in person, but like a video or something.
Yeah, I mean,
well,
I watch Walking Dead.
Well, no, not crossbows too, but like regardless, like they have these compound bows that aren't just like your regular, you know, like you would imagine a
Robin Hood era,
Robin Hood or an Indian. Just, you know,
Native American, geez.
Yeah, Native American, and they just, you know, grab a stick and put a rope on it and pull it back. No, it's like a compound bow, so it adds all this extra
torque and
feet per second towards the arrow or the bolt, as they
it adds velocity to the arrow.
Right. So they go out there and they shoot these huge like elk and these moose and these all these animals, and the arrow goes right through them.
Yeah,
like all the way through their body, like through bone, through, you know, organs and rib cages and all that, and comes out the other side and sticks into whatever's behind it. Now, I mean, how's that not, like, you know what I'm saying, illegal? Like, mechanically speaking.
I think what they're...
I know they're trying to go off of, like, how many people they can get shots on, right?
Right, like high... what's it called? I have it written
Killed...
down. No, it's more focused around high capacity magazines for more bullets and things like that. And that's their number 2 request, and that is prohibit high capacity magazines. They want to implement the number of bullets a firearm can hold. So a M16, I believe, can hold 30 rounds. And
well, it just depends on they can, like a standard magazine.
Standard, that's what I'm saying.
Is 30 rounds.
Right.
You can buy drums for 100 rounds. 20.
Right.
You can buy the chains.
Right.
You can.
I think what they want to do is make the specific number that it can carry, which basically renders it useless. You know,
well, but it's not useless because even if you only give them 6-round magazines, like they can still reload.
Right.
But you can do that with a pistol.
But they have to reload at a much higher frequency than if they had 15, 30 rounds.
But have you ever seen a video of an active shooting situation?
An active shooter.
Active shooter, like when they're just walking. Like I'll show you some or whatever.
Well, when they go fully automatic, yeah, you have to.
But it doesn't. No, my point is that they have time. They have plenty of time.
Right.
So what they do is they take their time and they walk around. And half the time they're not even unloading. They only start getting into the full automatic unload after they've done the initial, I guess,
right,
for the most part. Now, there are different circumstances like the Sutherland Springs tragedy where the guy was in there just going to town because there's so many people in one spot.
Right.
But there's cases where they go into malls, they go into big buildings, and they're just walking around, popping off shots, you know.
One by one?
Like
right,
even if it's just semi-automatic, because AR-15s are semi-automatic. Yeah. So you still have to shoot. So even if you had to reload, like if you're accurate with a weapon, or even if you're not accurate, it only takes about 2 seconds to reload. Now, if you're reloading under fire, that may be different. Maybe they're trying to say that or something. I don't know. But even if you had to just do one bullet at a time, if no one else has a gun, what are they going to do?
Right. No, I agree. It doesn't really do anything for what they're, in my opinion, doesn't really help them out at all. The number 3 is they wanted to close the background check loopholes. What I read, what that meant was, right now there are no checks for private unlicensed sellers selling a gun. So if I own a gun and you say, hey, let me buy your gun, I can literally just name a price, you pay it, and I just hand you the gun.
That's absolutely correct.
Right. And so what they want is a check on every single gun sale in this country, private or otherwise. What do you think about that?
That's not good for me. 90% of my guns I've ever bought came from
word of mouth
citizens.
Yeah. Law-abiding citizens.
Citizens nonetheless.
All right, so number 1 was ban assault weapons, ban all assault weapons. Number 2 is prohibit high capacity magazines. Number 3 is close the background check loopholes. Look, I can see their intent, and I applaud their intent. They want to make schools, they want to make people's lives safer. I completely understand their efforts. However, they're fighting what I consider to be a losing battle. Because not losing like they're going to lose, but even if they win, we all lose in a way, right? Things that were set for all of us in the beginning are now being stripped away because of these isolated events. Now, don't get me wrong. I say isolated events, but I understand people lost their lives. So I know that people were affected in one of the worst imaginable ways.
Right.
But this doesn't happen on a daily basis. This is not happening in the thousands or the millions. This is happening. You know, it's mass shootings take what, less than 1% of life in the country?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I mean, it's they're horrible tragedies, but it's no safer or it's no more dangerous than eating a lot of cheese. You know what I mean?
Or a lot of ice cream.
Or a lot of ice cream.
I am on a site called everytownresearch.org, looking at a article called "Gun Violence by the Numbers." It just gives off a bunch of different stats. And here's an interesting one. Background checks have blocked over 3 million gun sales to prohibited people.
That's not a stat you hear.
You don't hear that. That's not a popular one.
No, it's not a good one. It's not a good one to put out there. So that's 3 million gun owners, or
3 million
wannabe gun owners that got denied by the already established background check. Mm-hmm. It's interesting.
But, you know, it's not just all one-sided on this side either. It goes, you know, both ways and indifferent, I think.
Those are the best ones.
Absolutely. 62% of firearm deaths in the U.S. are suicides. That's
another stat you don't hear a lot about. Yeah. You know, they quote these high numbers, but they don't. And we were looking at it earlier when we were doing our research. We went to and I'll quote it later. We went to a website that it said gun deaths in the country by, you know, and they were showing stats. And at the very end, in small lettering, they put now gun deaths equate to suicides, accidental death, homicide, and legal intervention, things like that.
They're just saying just overall
gun deaths, and
they're not talking about the violence.
Right.
They're talking about just
death.
Just death. Period.
Yeah.
Behind
it's that's something that has to be taken into account, because when you start quoting numbers, and when the numbers work in your favor,
right,
you want to quote those numbers, but you don't want to go into the subcategories of those numbers,
right? Because then that will break down your category.
Exactly. That'll break down everything you're saying.
Right.
Like, well, gun deaths are rampant.
For instance, like here's the website you're talking about. This is National Public Radio. What is this? National Public Radio website. All right. For instance, when we talk about how the U.S. compares, it says how the U.S. compares with the lowest rates of violent gun deaths worldwide. Violent gun deaths per 100,000 people. We were the most compared to Germany, Indonesia, Romania, Iceland, United Kingdom, Oman, China, South Korea, Japan, and Singapore, with close to 4 deaths per 100,000 people. Going back to the other page, the Everytown research, it says on average there are nearly 13,000 gun homicides a year in the United States.
Right.
Now, if we talk about gun deaths in total, period, that's a lot more numbers.
Yeah.
But as far as homicides, there's 13,000. And what that basically comes down to, that's close to, on an average day, 96 Americans are killed with guns.
A year?
A day.
A day.
96 are killed a day.
Well, that's homicide?
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Now, when we were talking about how some people use stats
to push their
agenda without being fair or unbiased, there's a part where we are the lowest. Like there's another stat on this page of National Public Radio where it says how the U.S. compares with highest rates of violent gun deaths worldwide, where we have 4 deaths per 100,000 people. We are beat by Trinidad and Tobago, which Bahamas, Jamaica, U.S. Virgin Islands, Brazil, Honduras, Colombia, Guatemala, Venezuela, and at number 1, El Salvador, with a whopping 40 gun deaths per 100,000 people.
Yeah. So, I mean, you can look at those numbers. You can say, "Oh, they're owned by this, they're owned by that," but that just raises the question: like, what are you listening to? Where are you getting your stats from? You gotta, look it up. If you're going to start quoting stuff, look it up. Right? We're just putting out what we found. We don't have a horse in this race. Yeah. So, we're just our talking points.
Well, when we start getting into the gun debate, there's some people who are saying there should be stricter laws and people should still be able to have them within reason. There's some people who completely are saying get rid of them altogether.
Right.
And they have valid points only because other countries, like I showed you earlier, in the East, the Southeast, and South Asia, they have the lowest numbers. Malaysia, Myanmar, Pakistan, India, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Seychelles, or some whatever. They have like less than 1 gun death per 100,000 people.
That's great.
But the problem is, they don't have all the same type of things we have over here.
Yeah.
They're
not U.S.,
China,
not Malaysia.
China, South Korea, like none of those people are allowed to have any of that stuff. But they also can't be on the internet. There are not many Facebook pages coming out of South Korea right now. You know what I'm saying?
So to go forward with some other things they were talking about, bringing up the Never Again movement, which is David Hogg is at the forefront of. They want 10% tax on all firearms. They want to raise the minimum age to own a firearm to 21. And they want to increase spending for mental health care programs. Okay. Next topic. We're going to go into the March for Our Lives event. It took place on March 24th. It was in response to, I'm sure it was in response to most of the, if not all of the mass shooting attacks that took place within the last couple of years. But it ultimately came about because of the Parkland shooting, and it was a march on Washington, D.C. It was reported to have at least 1.2 to 2 million people show up for this march. Some of the things that they were going for were, again, close the gun show loophole, and we talked about that earlier. Now, the NRA... All right, so the NRA, a guy named Grant Sturchfield, he's an NRA TV host. He says that the march was backed by radicals with history of violent threats, language, and actions. That's it's kind of strong, but okay. I'll take a nibble. I'll endure that.
Right.
But that comment was later found without merit by a fact-checking organization called PolitiFact.
So they proved it wrong?
They didn't prove them right, so it was without merit.
What?
You don't have to be proven wrong. You just have to, if you can say something that's completely true, but if it can't be proven true, then it's without merit.
Oh, so it's just an opinion.
Right. That's just him
it's just
saying
a strong
things.
opinion.
It's a strong opinion from the NRA, the TV host.
Right.
The NRA, on the day, during what's happening, the NRA posted a YouTube video during the march. It was called March for Their Lies. Instead of March for Our Lives. Get it?
Right.
March for Their Lives. They stated that they're a bunch of gun-hating billionaires and Hollywood elites that are manipulating and exploiting children as part of their plan to destroy the Second Amendment. Now, we know Hollywood is full of liberals. We're liberals. Liberals are the ones that want, everybody involvement and everybody gets a trophy, basically. They're not conservative like Republicans. They're more Democrat.
Okay.
If you watch the Oscars or the Grammys or whichever one it was nothing but everybody was dumping on Donald Trump. Right. So there's a lot of liberalism going on.
I got you. Okay, I got you.
So what do you say about that?
What do you say about it?
Okay, what I say is
ask me all.
It's questions. Interesting. It's interesting because these kids, these teenagers, the Never Again movement and David Hogg and all his people, and they were on the cover of Time magazine, and that is not by accident. That's not by, hey, let's these kids are hurt. Let's get their voices heard.
Yeah, this definitely isn't like a Martin Luther King march.
No.
This isn't like it's like we're being unjust or something unjust. Something is going on, and this is a punish everybody for the actions of.
Let's put the kids out front. Let's get everybody to feel guilty for not backing up these kids. The thing is, we're reading something earlier, and it was a comparison between. Not a comparison, but it was understanding that the kids of today's generation, the teenagers, are the same. This is the generation of people that are eating the Tide Pods, doing the condom challenge, where they stick a condom in their nose till it comes out of their throat and they pull it out of their mouth.
That's like talent.
This is the generation, right? Now, I'm not saying David Hogg is one of those kids, but how do you take this serious? Not serious, but yeah, I guess seriously. How do you take it seriously when a bunch of kids are, in this age, making people like the Migos the hottest musicians, quote unquote, in the country? You know what I mean? It's hard to rally behind a group of people that are these people that are pushing all these crazy things like the Tide Pod eating and things like that.
Well, here's the thing. That goes back to what I was saying about the people who are marching against, like you're saying, what's the name of the kids?
Their movement is called the Never Again movement. Okay,
so the Never Again movement is coming from an emotion. Yeah. It's coming from a reaction, fear, because they weren't doing this before it happened.
No.
So it's not that it's without warrant, but at the same time, it's not the answer. I don't believe, in my belief system, I'm against violence. I come from a violent background. I know the effects of it from the receiving end and from the giving end. Pause. And
you're giving and receiving. It's all right. It's 2018.
It hurts. It hurts. But so I don't idolize anyone, but I definitely try not to follow anybody who's violent or who loves violence or anything like that. So I get it what their point is,
right?
But what I'm saying is that they have everybody. It's like if one of my sons came in and he got a bad grade and I punish everybody else. Now I know that's not as dramatic as gun violence or whatnot. But what I'm saying is that they're trying to take away everybody's rights behind the actions of few.
Right.
Now, when you're asking me about this, it's the same thing. I can't group all of the kids in this generation in with the Migos and the Tide Pod Challenge kids. You know why? Yeah. Because think about us. We're 80s babies.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They were calling us Generation X. Nothing good was going to come from us. That's what the whole point was. We didn't have any morals or rules. We were out running the streets. We're supposed to be gangbangers. We're supposed to be statistics, and all this other type of stuff. So if they had counted us out, then me and you wouldn't be sitting here, And they did count us out, like on multiple other reasons or whatever. But I can't just group all of them in to one category because they don't all have the same ambitions in life.
Right.
My daughter's 18 years old. She's going to college.
Yeah.
You know, she comes over here and checks on her brothers and sisters, takes them to the store and stuff. That's, you know, she has a job, you know.
Maybe I worded it wrong. I'm not saying that all kids in that age group, all kids in that age group are low life losers that eat Tide Pods. That's not what I was trying to say. And I'm not backpedaling at all. I still mean when I say like this generation of kids is worse than our generation of kids.
No, you know what's worse? I don't mean to interrupt you, but I do. What's worse is what these kids are being pushed to these kids. That's what's worse. The influence is worse. And the fact that excuse me, it's set up that way systematically. Yeah. The parents, if they're not together, which is
rare.
Rare that they're not together.
Oh, no. Okay.
If they're not together, you know,
just common practice.
I'm not saying the government came in and wrecked your relationship or whatever.
Well, I mean,
but
hey.
In a sense, I believe evil, which I believe runs the government. So in a sense, it's like a third party connection, you know, it's like a third party cookie.
Right.
I believe that they want us all to depend on the system. So especially when you're not together.
You know, it's more beneficial for a mother with children to not have the father around.
Exactly. That's exactly my point. That's what I was getting to.
Yeah.
So don't interrupt me anymore.
Sorry.
So even though I interrupted you to get my point across, don't you dare interrupt me to help me.
I understand. I apologize.
Don't help me to help me.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Got
all
it.
right?
Right.
So, no, but, you know, that's my point. Like, they don't necessarily want us to be together. And when they do, it's like you're almost having to pay more.
Yeah.
To be, you know, with the woman or the mother or the father or whatnot, you know. So I can't group in everybody in that category, bro. But, and I know you're not necessarily doing that, but my belief is that the kids in this generation are getting it worse than we did.
Right.
Now they have access to more and have the opportunity for greater than we did. But with the opportunity for greater, there has to be equal, or what's it, an equal or lesser reaction or something like that.
Right.
So with there being a greater opportunity for them to be greater, there's a greater opportunity for them to be worse.
Right.
And unfortunately, they only broadcast the worst.
Yeah.
Being good, being popular. Being good is not popular. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree to that. All right. So
should I write that down?
It's in the ether.
It's in the ether.
All right. So the next topic, new safety protocols for Douglas High School being protested. Again, this was the school that was, that suffered through the, shooting that took place on February 14th. And now the school is taking measures for new safety protocols, such as larger enforcement presence. They're requiring ID badges that are orange in color. Orange ID badges. And the big topic, clear backpacks. The students did not sit well with that. The students, backpacks? Yeah. Oh, yeah. The students say the school now feels like jail.
Aw. Have you seen the gray campus at Judson in the 90s when we went to school? If you drove, first of all, if you drive down Old Rocket Lane, right, and you go past the gray campus, there's 3 campuses for Judson.
Oh, if you go by, it's the speed limit's 30. If you go 31, you're gonna get pulled over.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get pulled over. But if you go past the gray campus, well, now it's a middle school, but it used to be the 9th and 10th grade of the Judson High School.
Yeah.
If you go past there, first of all, on the right hand side, you'll notice a
waste management center,
a waste management,
an outdoors waste management.
Outdoors dookie pool,
dookie plant,
where at any moment at school, if there's a good whiff, a good wind blowing south, southeast, or whichever direction it is,
that school's gonna get it.
You're gonna get it.
Yeah.
You're gonna be eating a Hot Pocket, and you're gonna catch every piece of that smell from across the street. So that's just one thing, right? Not just that, but if you drove past and looked at the school, like when they close the little gates to the courtyard, it looks like a jail.
When they're building that middle school, Wood Lake, I thought they were building a prison out there. It just looked like the setup of wings. You know, it just looked like a prison.
It looks like a jail. Yeah. Not even that, but you know, that's just funny. That's just, you know, being funny on the cosmetic
architectural
side. Yeah, but the truth is, we had clear backpacks too.
Yeah, we were
mesh.
They were
clear or mesh.
Yeah, they had to be clear or mesh. Now we didn't like it, but so what?
Yeah, but we had gang and violence and gun violence back then too. It just wasn't. I don't know, man. I think I don't know if I guess the stats had to have gone up, but who knows?
Right?
Like who does the stats? Who reports them? Like I don't know. Yeah. But if the stats are true, of course, gun violence and all that stuff goes up because influence of bad and evil through radio, television, internet, and all that stuff, and access, smartphones, you know, all that stuff happening goes up. So, of course, the stuff that comes with it's going to go up. The violence, the drugs, the sex addiction, all the demons that come with it are going to come up.
Right.
So, you know, saying we need stricter gun laws, this, no, like, we need, you know, we need better influence, better things being put out there.
We need people. I think if people treated each other better, and I know this is one of those hippie flower statements, but if people treat each other better, and we got out of this clique environment or clique culture that we've had for years and years, where you got the jocks, the cheerleaders, the snobs, the goth, the this, the that. If everybody just took everybody in and stopped treating each other like outsiders, or you're not cool with this group, you're not cool with that group, then that would lower the isolation. That would lower the evil thoughts and the revenge plots and all that stuff. I think that would help at bare minimum. It would lower the desire to bring somebody's life to an end.
Absolutely. But that only comes from healthy moral compasses.
Absolutely. Now, the students of Douglas High School, they don't like the fact that they have to wear clear backpacks. They say it is a violation of privacy and a violation of their First Amendment rights. I think that is the funniest, most hypocritical thing for these people to be saying now. The fact that they're fighting for their First Amendment rights, but they want to break down the Second Amendment rights. Like they're cherry picking what they're okay with and what is not okay.
That's how it works, though.
Yeah, that's how it works.
You can't say, hey, I'm all about this first one, but not the second one.
Right.
But see, you know, like me personally, you know how I feel about the American commandments.
Amendments.
Yeah.
I know
the commandments. The commencements.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem with playing that game.
Right.
You play a stupid game, you get stupid prizes. Right? That's what they say on billboards.
All right, we're going to move on to our next one. We were interested in the statistics of the whole thing. We're interested in why are the gun laws being attacked and why this and why that. So we did a little digging, and we looked up what we consider to be the strict gun laws versus loose gun laws concerning gun violence. Found a website called safehome.org. And according to safehome.org, states around the Mississippi River, such as Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, and such, they are part of the top 10 firearm deaths in the country. Now, let's describe what firearm deaths mean. It's not mass shootings. All right, that's one of those stats that people like to use in order to make their argument seem more relevant or more strong, stronger. Firearm deaths include suicide, police legal intervention, accidental death, homicide, and all types of other ways you can kill somebody can die. Now, nationally, higher stringency on gun laws equals lower gun deaths. I think the state with the most gun restrictions is Indiana. I think that's accurate, and I believe if they are the top if they're the state with the most gun restrictions, that would make them with the lowest amount of gun violence, including all what I said earlier with the suicides and homicides and legal intervention, things like that. And the highest gun violence is Louisiana. Now, they have some of the loosest gun laws. And so with the statistics I found on safehome.org, it shows the stats. It shows a comparison between the gun restrictions versus the gun violence. And you can see how it moves left and right. You know, the higher restrictions, the lower the gun violence. They lower the restrictions, the higher the gun violence. Okay, so that is definitely something that needs to be looked at. However, you can't pick and choose what kind of gun violence and just take the overall majority of that statistic and use it to benefit you.
Right.
Because suicide, I believe, is the number one it's the number one cause for, or the number one used death statistic involving weapons, involving guns.
Yeah, but it's because it's fast and
it's simple. It's in and out. You're not gonna. I mean, you can hang yourself, but I mean that hurts.
It hurts. Falling. You have to deal with the whole.
Yeah, you got to really want to die if you hang yourself.
You gotta really want to die. Period. Like, especially like you try to set yourself. There's like all types of ways. People have been killing themselves for like beginning of time. Like, exactly. You know what I'm saying? So,
but the gun is fast and I don't know. I guess painless. I've never.
Romeo and Juliet. Sensationalized
suicide?
Couple suicides.
Yeah.
They
drank the poison.
Yeah, the dude drank. She drank it, then he drank. Then
no, she didn't drink it. Just Shakespeare, man. You don't know Shakespeare?
Yeah, man.
He saw her, who he thought was dead, and we're going on Romeo and Juliet right now. It's a little asterisk. Romeo saw Juliet, and he thought she was dead, but she actually drank something that slowed her heartbeat. And everybody else thought she was dead. Exactly. And so he saw that and he drank poison, and she wakes up and he's there dead. And
then she kisses him, right?
She wants to kiss his lips to see if there's any left behind, but there isn't. So she takes a sword and stabs herself.
There you go.
Yeah.
She didn't need a gun to get that across.
Now, in the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, she did shoot herself because guns were considered swords in that movie.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway,
but that comes back to what we're talking about as far as the suicides and whatnot. They can't blame that on guns. That's right. Suicide is not a result of or being shot with a gun. Well, shooting yourself with a gun
should not be in the same category as mass shootings or homicides.
Because that is a mental health / spiritual health situation.
Right. All right, now. Last topic before we start going off and talking about whatever else we want to talk about. The overall sense of schools feeling like they need to beef up their security. It's kind of funny to me that the school in Florida is making such a huge outcry about their invasions of privacy and feels like they're in a jail. So they feel like they're going to prison every day. With such things as metal detectors and metal detecting wands and higher security personnel and the clear backpacks. And now they're talking about automatic door locks and the rules and regulations regarding their clothing, things like that. Do they not understand that there are schools that have been doing this for years?
Years, bro.
Years.
In Detroit, they had a school. Oh, man, I wish I had wrote that one down. But from 86 to 94, they were having metal detectors in their school. And isn't there still schools that do it?
Yeah, there is. I mean, there's a school in Indiana. They're supposed to be the highest protected school.
I know schools. There's some schools in Chicago that do it.
Yeah, but the school in Indiana, they spent hundreds of thousands of dollars for security purposes, and they're supposed to be the highest school security system in the country.
What's going on in Indiana, bro?
Apparently nothing.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Ain't nothing going on around here.
At school, you know. So I think it's hilarious because you scream, help us, defend us, take care of us, this and that, and then when they bring the tools to your front door, you're like, well, now wait a second. We want you to do this, but we don't want it to affect our day-to-day life.
Right.
Like, well, what are you asking for? Like, what do you think we're just going to say, hey, everybody stop killing each other and this is going to happen?
Yeah. It's, here's the thing with, how I believe it. I don't believe you can have mental health without a good spiritual health. And people want to talk about evil, they have to talk about where evil comes from. And then to counterbalance that, you have to talk about where good comes from. And that's also a conversation that doesn't want to be had. They don't want to mix quote unquote church and the state. They do physical health at school. They do mental health. Well, as far as their teachings or whatever, but they don't do any type of spiritual health. That mixed in with the amount of time parents that try to provide have to be away from the kids. All their influences is coming from, entertainment sources and school.
Right.
So there's really not a lot of room for mental health or maintaining a level of mental health with your kids, except for if you have time on the weekends.
Right.
As far as these kids that are in these protests or whatever, I believe that they probably really believe what they are saying. But like most kids, and like how we were as kids, especially in the climate and the way the media is, they're probably not informed of every aspect of it.
Right.
I've heard some good points, but I've heard a lot of emotional rambling.
Right.
And that's not out of disrespect. I'm not trying to take away from what they went through or what they experienced or what they feel or whatever like that. But if we're going to talk about overall, the case of this situation, I don't believe that they really know have enough information.
They don't take the time to look at the full scope. They just go off what they hear straight off of a TV or a newspaper, not newspaper.
Right. Now, I have seen an interview where a dude, I guess they thought he was anti-gun, but he was pro-gun the whole time. And he really just got up there and just started just laying into
the protesters or whatever they were. Yeah, I like hearing more from people than I like hearing from, the newscasters, the news hosts and all the things like that, and the politicians and things. But it's funny because when I watch the people talk about it, generally what I watch is like people that are trying to make other people look stupid. And the reason why I watch it is because it's funny how it's so blatant, and it's so it's like these people are uninformed of what they're protesting against. Like somebody asked this guy asked
I got what you're saying. Yeah,
a guy asked a woman something like, "What are you here protesting?" She said, "Like, we're protesting against assault rifles, and they all need to be banned." And he asked her, "Well, can you define what an assault rifle is? Like, what is an assault rifle?" And they just had blank faces.
Right.
Like they couldn't, they would look at one and say, "Oh, that's terrifying. It's an assault rifle. There's no reason for a normal person to have that."
Right.
But she couldn't define what it is. And then they said, "Well, all semi-automatic weapons should be banned." And they said, "Well, what's a semi-automatic? What's that even mean?" Right. She couldn't say it.
Right.
Now, for anyone that doesn't know the difference between automatic and semi-automatic weapon, semi-automatic releases one round at a time, one bullet at a time.
Per trigger squeeze.
Now, assault rifles, they can, such as the M16 and M4, things like that, they can go from semi-automatic to automatic.
If not if it's legal in your state, but they do have them in a different, they are available in that platform, is what I'm trying to say. However, fully automatic weapons are illegal as far as buying them legally.
Right.
As for anything, it can obviously be modified, but that's criminal intent, and those are criminals. So that doesn't apply to the average American.
And speaking of criminal intent, I was just reading something earlier on my phone. The Sutherland Springs shooting here in Texas. I think it was September or November, some months ago. The buyer or the shooter, he bought he was able to get his weapon, an assault rifle. He got it illegally, or he didn't buy it legally. He didn't go through the background check. He came into contact with this weapon by illegal means. So any criminal who has a firearm without having the legal means of getting it has nothing to do with the gun laws. Because they're criminals.
So whether you do gun laws or not,
they're gonna get them.
They gonna get them.
They gonna get them. They gonna get you.
Not even just that, man. people make guns. You can make your own stuff.
Are people still 3D printing guns?
Of course.
That was a thing.
Yeah, but it's probably way better now.
Well, no, I think, especially with assault rifles, they would buy the parts off the internet, except for the one part. I forgot what it was called. It was
it's like a low receiver or upper
the receiver. That's what it was.
Like that.
Now, to counteract that, they would 3D print them.
Right.
And some of them didn't work out too well, but then eventually it got to a point where people were figuring out what was wrong, and then they fixed it.
Right.
Now they do work.
Right.
So, yeah, there's so many illegal ways of
making
weapons.
Having weapons, period.
Yeah.
There's bombs still.
There's pipe bombs.
There's machetes.
Yeah, I mean, you could just strangle somebody. I mean, what are you going to do?
Your car. There's more car deaths
legalize,
than anything.
Make hands illegal? I mean, look at it. Gun violence is very high in this country. That's very true. But also heart attack. What's the disease? Blood sugar, things like that.
Chlamydia.
No. That's not.
That should be illegal.
Chlamydia should be illegal?
Yes.
A disease should be illegal?
Yes.
Like HIV. HIV and AIDS is no longer, get this, and this is kind of off topic. There's a woman in California who purposely were giving men AIDS. Purposely.
I've heard stories of people doing that, yeah.
She was arrested and given, I think, 6 months. There was a guy who did something else that was illegal but not involving somebody's life. He got 4 years. So you're less in trouble for giving somebody a deadly disease than you are for I don't know. I wish I knew what his crime was. My point would be much stronger. But
your point is without merit, sir.
Yeah, basically, I shouldn't have said it. But anyway, it's gun violence is very high, but so is diabetes, so is suicides, so are traffic crashes, things like that. And I mean, it's what are we going after right now? We're just taking the flavor of the month again. Is that what we're doing?
Yeah, man.
Gun shoots.
We have a fast food mentality anyway.
Fast food culture, fast food society.
They have to keep it up. They have to keep fear. They have to keep the
desire for government intervention.
Right. The desire for us to suckle at the teat of the government,
And that's what I was talking about with the whole beefing up school security. And we kind of talked about it before, where I think it's some type of conspiracy going on where security personnel are going to be used much higher frequency now at all these high schools.
I hope so, because I just got hired not too long ago. And Maximum Security Group, you guys, if you need any help, give us a call. I don't think I hear what you're saying, but I don't think it's a conspiracy on that level. I think it's it may start off with them reaching out to.
Well, who's going to pay for it?
Well, that's what I'm saying.
It's going to be federally funded.
It's going to start off on a lower level like that, but eventually it'll get to where if it's going to be federal funded, then they're just going to use the government to do it. Then then they'll put government, military or something like that inside these schools, and then
undercover FBI agents.
No, not even just that. I'm just saying eventually it's going to be a police state. They're going to be riding in those little white penitentiary school buses, like when they transport prisoners.
Busting in students.
Keep your hands to your sides. No one touch nobody.
Yeah.
Everybody wear all white or whatever. But
blindfold you so you can't look at nothing.
Well, speaking of blindfold and schools and security and safety, let's transition into this video. There's a gentleman by the name of Derek Grace II. And he has many videos where he teaches his kids. He homeschools his own kids. Uh-huh. He teaches them how to use guns, different calibers, all types of different stuff with weapons. But he also teaches them socioeconomics, just all the stuff that you don't really learn until you get into college.
Right.
At a young age, he's teaching them this stuff now and what to do if something was to happen to him.
I think I saw that. They're on a couch or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just play the clip, and I want to get your take on it.
All right.
Revisit this.
You gonna play it?
Sure.
Oh, I'm gonna play it. Okay, here we go.
Miss Grace, what kind of round are you in?
22.
What kind of round are you in now?
380.
She's blindfolded by the way.
What kind of round are you in?
380.
She's
What
blindfolded.
kind of round are you in now?
The little girl.
48.
All right, so what's going on is the little girl is sitting down and her father's sitting next to her, and she has her hand out, and she's blindfolded with a bandana. He's taking a bullet,
Different round.
different round, and
different
putting
size.
one inside her hand, and she's determining what kind of round it is
Without looking.
without looking.
45.
What kind of round are you in now?
22.
Miss Grace, if you want to give jobs to our family and friends, what is that called?
Nepotism.
If you have a bunch of friends who don't do are they an asset or a liability?
A liability.
How many people on the
Quick
registered
pause.
sex offender list?
So what she's doing now is her father is asking her different questions. He's asking the little girl different questions about just life questions.
Right.
Like if you have friends that
Don't do anything in
I'll
life.
paraphrase, but if you have friends that don't do anything in life, don't have any goals or ambitions, what are they? Are they, what do you say, a liability or an asset?
Right.
She said liability. So while she's answering these questions, she is doing functions tests, blindfolded doing functions test on different
handguns.
and what is that, an Uzi?
It's like an Uzi.
All right, go ahead and play.
750,000.
Daddy taught you that you were a goddess, so you can never be anybody's what?
Take it back a little bit. Take it back a little bit. Before she said the 750,000, I want them to hear this part.
All right, I'm gonna take it back about here.
Asset or a liability?
A liability.
How many people on the registered sex offender list?
750,000.
Daddy taught you that you were a goddess, so you can never be anybody's what?
Bitch or hoe.
Remove your blindfold. Who is Huey P. Newton?
An African political activist, a revolutionary who belonged to Bob Seale, co-founded the Black Panther Party in 1966.
Who's coming to save you?
Nobody. I have to save myself.
And if I die today, then what's your job?
To pick up where you left off and take care of my siblings.
Good job.
Wow.
Now, let me just put this out there real quick. Some people are going to be upset that he brought in Huey P. Newton in the Black Panther Party.
I haven't done enough research on Huey P. Newton. All I know is he was part of the Black Panther Party, but there are also some stuff that goes against him that kind of makes me hesitant to rally
Right.
his
So,
name.
but regardless, that is part of the history. So if we can learn about Columbus doing genocide on
Native Americans.
Native Americans, we can talk about a political activist.
Yeah, let's talk about everything that happened.
Yeah.
Not just the
Right.
made up part.
And you can't be, yeah. Not just the fun run and gun.
Just the day off of school part.
Yeah. Let's not just overlook that. So, what are your thoughts on that, man? What are your thoughts on,
I applaud his efforts of educating his young daughter. I'm sure if he has any other kids, I'm sure he's doing the same thing with them.
he does. He has a couple other kids that they do the same thing.
Okay. So I applaud his efforts. I applaud what he's doing. You know, a gun, we said this last time, a gun is only a tool.
Right.
Put any tool in a knowledgeable person's hands, it's going to do its job accurately and precisely. Put the same tool in somebody safely. And if you put the same tool in somebody else's hand that doesn't know what they're doing, or isn't going to use it for what it was meant for, it can do a great amount of damage.
Deadly.
Yeah. So, I mean, weapons is not the case here. Weapons is not, or a gun is not what should be on trial right now. Mental health and social way people are treating each other, that should be what's on trial right now. The way
Absolutely.
these kids are being raised, the way the society is being built up as a whole. You know, these kids, I give these kids a bunch of...
It's a godless society.
I give the kids a bunch of crap, but it's literally, and I mean this, it's not their fault. It's our generation's fault for raising them the way they were raised.
I don't believe that.
Well, I mean, look at it like this. Our parents were raised by their parents who grew up in their own way. We were raised by our parents who grew up in their own way, and we raise our kids that in the way that we see is fit.
But how many of us were actually raised by our parents?
That's what I'm saying. The rate of parents of living together parents have dropped.
No. What I'm saying is, regardless whether they're together or not, like I believe you can be raised with one parent. What I'm saying is, how many people have been? No, hear what I'm about to say.
All right.
How many people have been raised by their parents, as opposed to people who have been raised by a parent who's being co-parented by the government.
Well, a lot more now than before, ever.
I'm talking. What I mean is this little girl with this guy, right?
Right.
She's being raised by her father.
Right.
She's not being co-parented by the government. And what I mean is the 12 years of school we have to do, going to school and learning the rules of being an American.
Right.
All right. So she's learning everything from her parents and their perspective and everything like that. Now with us, like we were raised by our parents who were raised by their parents and whatnot, but ultimately they're going off of the rules set in place and the teachings of this American government.
Right.
They're not going off of teachings based off of their core beliefs or their belief system, period.
Right.
They're going off of the political education and state stuff.
Right. Yeah. That's what I'm saying is like guys like him, the father, is doing what he's a rarity.
Right.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like he's a rarity.
And he's not popular. He's not going to be widely accepted because he has lots of tattoos on his face.
Now, if
his hair's dreadlocked.
I don't know his marriage situation. I know you said he's single parent.
I don't know if he's single parent or not.
Okay. Well, I can't speak on that then. But, yeah, like people like him don't exist very often. Right. I've never seen something like that brought out on mainstream media. We saw, did you see that video clip of that woman who went and found her son at some Black Lives Matter march and she beat the crap out of him on live TV?
Yeah, because she
was paraded on social media as Mom of the Year.
Yeah.
Because she was beating her son on national TV.
Yeah.
This guy is teaching his daughter life lessons, utilizing weapons in a safe manner, and she has all that knowledge placed in her. I haven't heard one thing about it.
Yeah, it's righteousness is not popular, man.
Right.
It's just not, and but that just goes back to the evil of this world and the spirits that have dominion over it right now.
Yeah, he's teaching her independence. He was saying like, if Daddy dies, what are you gonna do? He said, I'm gonna pick up where you left off, and who's gonna protect you? Nobody. I'm gonna protect myself.
Right.
That stuff's not taught.
How many sex offenders or how many registered sex
700,000, whatever she said.
Yeah.
It was stuff like that.
That's
is
life.
Not common practice.
Those are real life lessons.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying everything in the school systems are waste or they're just trying to indoctrinate us on everything. The truth is that they always give us a little bit of truth. You have to have if you're trying to trap a bear, you just have to have a little bit of meat. It don't take a lot, you don't have to give them something that's going to fill them up. You just have to give them enough it's going to keep them interested.
Right.
And attract the smell.
But again, that's what I'm saying is like with Twitter and the Kardashians and the crap that's always put out there that it's harmful to everybody in every single way, except for maybe a laugh or two from time to time.
Right.
We allow that. We watch it. That's what I'm saying. Like 5-year-old kids ain't watching Kardashians unless they're sitting in front of mom or dad watching it. Right. We allow that to be popular.
Right. I get what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. With the whole,
as a whole, there is definitely the whole nation needs to be revamped.
Yeah.
It's tenacious, bro. Like everybody, not everybody, but like the society. This American society that is publicized, what is being pushed, what is being accepted, but it's as time's going on, man, it's getting worse and worse and worse. It's not going to get better. It's going to get
more divisive.
It's going to get more divisive until it hits a boiling point, and then something huge is going to happen, and it's going to bring everybody together, either willingly or forcingly. And
man, at this point, I'm not even gonna
we're
say
in
it.
times, bro.
I'll tell you when we get off the air. I'm not gonna say that. That'll bring this whole thing crashing down.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Let's make this the last episode, man. Do it. Let's go out with a bang, man.
No. I'll save that for when I'm really big. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up there. I hope everybody enjoyed this podcast. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us on Twitter, Spreaker.com, Facebook. I said Twitter already, didn't I?
Tweeter.
All right. You can find us on all those websites. We are the Will Boys Podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. Please comment, subscribe. Please send us a message. We would love to answer questions any of you have. We would love to bring any of you on if you have something you want to talk about. You want to call us. We're going to have all that set up. We'd like to hear your inputs. We want to hear what you have to say. Send us emails. You can send us, we'll get a Skype going on or whatever we got to get going on just to hear what you guys got to say.
Look out for some of the videos we have coming out soon. We are doing pre-production for season 2. We have many guests still to come for the end of this season. We're going to go out with a bang with just different guests and whatnot.
We're going to be talking about business, going to be talking about education, entrepreneurship, things like that. I am oldMIXDhead.
It's your boy Chief.
We'll see you next time.